everywhere you go and whatever you might be doing. As long as you have an electronic device with a microphone, speakers, or gyroscope, that device might be listening. Not just your phone, but also your laptop, tablet, smartwatch, TV, or your IoT-enabled home appliances are all participating in the most clandestine and unavoidable method of tracking your location and behavior: ultrasonic cross-device tracking. But in this day and age, your TV is an audio beacon and your phone is a receiver. Beacons are emitting high-frequency sounds and receivers are listening for those signals. During commercial breaks, your TV will emit ultrasounds that you won't be able to hear, but your phone and your dog will. In this case, it will generate an identifier with information about you watching a particular TV program at a given time. Using ultrasounds, audio beacons can always detect when your phone is nearby, and likewise, apps on your phone can listen for approximate audio beacons to track what you do and see. When you think about it, keyboards are a critical point of vulnerability. They are handling your private chats, passwords, contacts, search records, and other sensitive data. Since we're talking about virtual keyboards and not separate physical components, they can see what you do on your screen. And curiously, a lot of keyboards request internet permission in order to provide features, which opens up this huge hole for everything that you ever type on your phone to be sent to third parties.
What has society become if we can leave the fate of a person's life in the hands of an algorithm? When we take the recommendation of a machine as truth even when it seems so unreasonable and inhumane. Even more disturbing is the fact that the general public doesn't know how Compass works. The engineers behind it have refused to disclose how it makes recommendations and are not obliged to by any existing law. Yet we're all supposed to blindly trust and adhere to everything it says. Reading about this story, a few important questions come to mind. How much do algorithms control our lives, and ultimately, can we trust them? And algorithms now have a far greater penetration into our daily life. From the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you're constantly interacting with tens, maybe even hundreds of algorithms. Let's say you wake up, tap open your screen and do a quick search for a place near you to eat breakfast. In this one act, you're triggering Google's complex algorithm that matches your keywords to websites and blog posts to show you answers that are most relevant to you. When you click on a website, an algorithm is used to serve you ads on the side of the page. Those ads might be products you've searched for before, stores near your location, or, eerily enough, something you've only spoken to someone about. You then try to message a friend to join you for your meal. When you open any social media app today, your feed no longer simply displays the most recent posts by people you follow. Instead, what you see can be best described by TikTok's For You page. Complex mathematical equations behind the scenes decide what posts are most relevant to you based on your view history on the platform. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and most notoriously TikTok all use these recommendation systems to get you to interact with the content that their machine thinks is right for you. And it's not just social media. Netflix emails you recommendations of movies to watch based on what you've already seen. Amazon suggests products based on what you've previously bought, and probably the most sinister of all, Tinder recommends you the person you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with, or at least that night. These might seem like trivial matters, but it's more than that. Algorithms are also used to determine who needs more healthcare, and when you have your day in court and a computer program decides whether you'd spend the next decade of your life behind bars for a crime that usually doesn't carry any time. One of the most dangerous things about algorithms is the data that is used to power them, because the more data you feed into an algorithm, the better its results. And where do companies get this data? It's from their users like you and me. Most of the time giving out this information is harmless, but a lot of times these companies sell your information to data brokers who then sell that data to other companies that want to sell you stuff. That's why you keep getting targeted ads from random companies you've never heard of before, and what's worse is that these data brokers are often targeted by nefarious actors who steal all the information they have in data breaches. I'm not saying that all algorithms are bad and we should get rid of them. An algorithm is probably the reason you're watching this video in the first place. I'm saying we as a society need to make some changes to the way we currently interact and use these systems. One of the scariest things about algorithms is that they're built and altered in a black box with little oversight. The engineers behind them determine what we see and don't see. They classify, sort, order, and rank, and we don't get to know how or why. Even the government doesn't get to know how and why, and if they did, would they understand it? The engineers themselves often don't know why an algorithm behaves the way it does. They use AI and machine learning, which can make the outcomes become hard to predict. They become a mystery to makers as well. When companies like Google or Facebook are challenged about their platforms after something terrible happens, they hide behind the mythos of the algorithm. They're cold, unbiased systems, they suggest. They're rational. To err is human, not machine, they claim. This is the notion of algorithms that is potentially dangerous. We think of them as pillars of objectivity, incapable of the kind of biases that corrupt human society. But are they genuinely unbiased? Are they pure instruments of rationality? As much as big tech companies would like you to believe they are, the sad truth is they are not.
In turn, the application allows businesses to target you according to your demographic makeup and lifestyle down to the very square footage of your home. Yes, Facebook can do that. It doesn't just stop there, by the way. According to targeting data, Facebook allows businesses to pinpoint, for example, soccer moms, persons who plan to buy a car, as well as the style and brand of car you currently drive, users with X number of credit lines open, your credit score, and those who prefer NCIS over Law and Order. If you visited any website on any browser after logging into Facebook, regardless of whether you've done it in incognito mode or not, listen closer to this one, Facebook still has access to that data and likely stores it. In fact, they can run around your browser entirely and access your ISP servers directly for, of course, a small charge. Facebook's a fun one to pick at because its users are often so unaware of what's going on behind the scenes with their data. How do you think it knows when you appear in an untagged photo, for instance? How does it know that it should recommend you to be tagged if it's your face? It maps your entire face based off previous photos you've attributed to your likeness and uses predictive analyses to better gauge potential product audiences for interested companies. It can predict things so well, in fact, that it's even successfully guessed childhood crushes based on poses and photos and comments exchanged between parties in unrelated posts. If that's not creepy, I don't know what is. Many believe you're also being listened to. I have to stress this one's not confirmed, but there are some pretty creepy reports out there. Many have reported relevant ads for products about which they've never even posted or messaged to anyone. Here's just one example. How does something this specific end up in an advertisement if you've only spoken about it? Literally spoken about it, not posted it anywhere.
There is no cloud, only other people's computers. Apple is trying to convince you that they are different, that unlike the rest of the big tech, they don't monetize your data and they don't traffic in your private life. And they have a business model to prove this. All of this is a lie. Apple collects every piece of data they are capable of collecting, including your location, IP address, browsing records, search history, app data, usage behavior, purchasing records, contacts, viewing, listening, and reading habits, phone, messaging, and email metadata, and that's just scratching the surface.
So what's the problem with Google? Well, there's so much to unpack here, but it revolves around two broad categories: too much data collection and algorithm bias. The value of your searches is immeasurable. Seeing your searches is the closest thing there is to seeing your thoughts without a brain scan. People tend to have this misguided idea of, oh, I'm not important, nobody is interested in what I do, or I'm not doing anything wrong, therefore I have nothing to hide, or I'm okay with data collection because I get relevant results. But that's not how any of this works. It's not just about what data they collect, but also what they do with that data. Google goes great lengths to link every single search you make to your real name, and for a good reason. They want to create a perfect record of your search history that they constantly feed the AI to predict your future behavior. These predictions are building a profile that is used as a universal measure of your worth as a customer or even a citizen. It's what enables insurance companies to direct their pricing or plans to maximize their profitability based on your risk assessment, not on your need. It's a prediction model that tells hotels, banks, or even employers what kind of a person you are and determine their action accordingly. What Google knows about you quietly impacts your everyday life. It is extremely detrimental. Essentially, Google builds your profile to rank your behavior. Whatever you do inside the alphabet empire contributes to your score. But this is a one-way mirror. You don't get to see how Google's proprietary algorithm interprets your behavior, which then impacts how service and retail industries treat you as their customer. All you can do is feed the algorithm more data. And it's not just what you type in the search bar. The empire is literally everywhere you go. Google is cross-referencing data points from millions of sources on your phone, browser, and the rest of the internet.
I have an iPhone, and if I move from here and go over there and sit with my Democrat friends, which will make them real nervous. Does Google track my movement? Does Google, through this phone, know that I have moved here and moved over to the left? It's either yes or no.
Not by default. There may be a Google service which you've opted into use, and if
So Google knows that I am moving over there. It's not a trick question. You know, you make $100 million a year, you ought to be able to answer that question. Does Google know through this phone that I am moving over there and sit next to Mr. Johnson, which would make him real nervous? It's his question. It's yes or no.
I won't be able to answer without looking at.
You can't say yes or no.
Without knowing more details.